Hey, you clicked on this video for a reason, and I want you to know, I see you. Maybe you're the person in the room who speaks and people keep talking over you. Maybe you've been kind, patient, giving, and in return, people walked all over you like you were a doormat they wiped their muddy boots on. Maybe you've been called too nice, too sensitive, or too soft so many times that part of you actually started to believe it. You are not alone. And this video is going to change something inside of you today. Not just the way you think, but the way you carry yourself, the way you walk into rooms, the way you speak, and the way people treat you from this day forward. This isn't motivation fluff. This isn't just believe in yourself nonsense. What you're about to hear is raw, real, and it might make you uncomfortable because the truth usually does. But if you stay with me until the end, you will never look at yourself or the world the same way again. Let's start with something nobody wants to say out loud. The world does not reward kindness by default. I know that's hard to hear. We were told growing up, be good, be humble, be helpful, and good things will come to you. And in a perfect world, that would be true. But you don't live in a perfect world. You live in a world where perception is power, and right now the world is perceiving you as someone who can be moved, used, and forgotten. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Now, before you misunderstand him, Machiavelli wasn't telling you to become a villain. He was telling you something brutally honest about human nature. People respect what they cannot easily dismiss. People value what feels like it costs something to have. And right now you are costing people nothing, and that is why they treat you like nothing. Think about the people in your life who get respect without even asking for it. They don't beg. They don't over-explain. They don't apologize for existing. There's something around them, an energy, a gravity that makes people sit up straight when they walk in. That thing has a name. It's called presence. And presence is not something you're born with. It is something you build, piece by piece, decision by decision, starting today. Let me take you back to a moment. Close your eyes for a second. Think of the last time someone interrupted you mid-sentence. Think of the last time you said something important, and the room moved on like you said nothing. Think of the last time you gave everything you had to someone, your time, your energy, your loyalty, and they looked past you like you were made of glass. Feel that. Don't push it down. Sit in it for a moment, because that feeling of being invisible is exactly the fuel you're going to use to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Kanye West, love him or hate him, once said, "I'd rather be the hammer than the nail." That single sentence carries a philosophy that separates people who shape the world from people who get shaped by it. For too long, you've been the nail, driven down by others, pushed into whatever position was convenient for everyone else. But a nail can become a hammer, and that transformation starts with a single decision, the decision to stop making yourself small so others feel comfortable. Here is something they never teach you in school. Weakness is not about your size, your income, your status, or how loud you speak. Weakness is a posture. It's an energy you project without even realizing it. It's in the way you laugh nervously after saying something real. It's in the way you qualify everything you say with "I'm not sure," but it's in the way you shrink when someone raises their voice. You have been trained, slowly and silently, to make yourself smaller, and today that training ends. Angry, let's talk about why you became this way in the first place. Because nobody wakes up one day and decides to be weak. It happened to you. Maybe you grew up in an environment where being loud got you punished, so you learned that silence was safer. Maybe you were the kid who was always told to wait your turn, always told you were too much, always told to be more like someone else. Maybe you got close to someone who slowly, methodically taught you that your needs didn't matter, and you believed them because you loved them, because you trusted them. You were not weak. You were adaptive. You learned how to survive in a space that didn't celebrate your strength. But survival mode was supposed to be temporary, and somewhere along the way it became your personality. You adapted so well to shrinking that you forgot you were ever bigger than this. You forgot what it felt like to take up space without apologizing for it. Robert Greene wrote in the 48 Laws of Power, "Never appear too perfect, never outshine the master." But here's what Greene was really teaching. He was documenting how power actually works in the real world, not how we wish it worked. And one of the most dangerous things you can do right now is keep playing the game by rules that were designed to keep you in second place. The people above you are not smarter. They are not more deserving. They simply learned earlier that boldness, not talent, is the first currency of power. So what does it actually look like to become powerful? Let's break this down in a way that gets into your bones. The first thing you have to understand is this. Power begins in your body before it ever reaches your mind. Your nervous system communicates confidence or fear before you say a single word. When you walk into a room hunched, eyes down, arms crossed tight against your chest, your body is broadcasting a signal that says, "I am not a threat, please don't notice me." And people respond to that signal instinctively, like predators who can smell hesitation. Stand differently. Right now, wherever you are, sit up or stand up straight. Pull your shoulders back. Not military stiff, relaxed and open. Let your chest open like a door you're no longer afraid to walk through. Take up physical space. Your body is not a problem to be hidden. It is a statement you are making before your mouth ever opens. And when you change the statement your body makes, the entire dynamic of every room you walk into shifts. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now, Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful men in human history, emperor of Rome, and he understood that real power is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself so completely that nothing external can shake you. That unshakable quality is what people sense when they call someone intimidating. They're not intimidated by the person's aggression, they're intimidated by the person's calm. Let's talk about the voice. Your voice is one of the most underrated weapons you have, and most people waste it completely. If you speak fast, you sound nervous. If you speak high-pitched at the end of every sentence, like you're always asking a question when you're making a statement, you are unconsciously signaling that you need approval. The moment you need someone's approval, you have handed them your power on a silver plate. Slow down when you speak. Lower your register. Pause. The pause is everything. It says, "I am not afraid of silence." It says, "I am not rushing to fill your discomfort." It says, "What I am about to say is worth waiting for." Most people are so afraid of silence that they fill every gap with filler words. Like you know, and in doing so, they tell everyone listening that they are not in control of the room. The person who controls the pace of a conversation controls the conversation. Tywin Lannister, yes, a fictional character, but one written to embody real principles of power, once said, "A lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep." Now think about how that lands. Not because you should see others as beneath you, but because you should stop letting the noise of other people's opinions determine how you move, how you speak, and how you see yourself. You have been living like a lion who forgot he was a lion. Here's a truth about confidence that most people never figure out. Confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is movement in spite of fear. Every powerful person you admire has been terrified. Every great leader, every entrepreneur who built an empire, every artist who bared their soul to the world, they were all afraid. The difference is they refused to let fear make their decisions for them. You have been treating your fear like a stop sign. But fear is not a stop sign. It's a compass. It points directly at the thing that matters most to you, the thing you want so badly that the thought of failing at it physically hurts. The fact that you're afraid means you care, and caring is the raw material of greatness. The only thing between you and the version of yourself you dream about is the decision to move toward the fear, instead of away from it. Napoleon Bonaparte said, "Impossible is a word found only in the dictionary of fools." Now, Napoleon came from nothing. He was a short, awkward kid from Corsica who spoke French with an accent and was mocked by his peers. He became the most powerful military commander in European history, not because of bloodline, not because of luck, but because of an iron refusal to accept the limits other people tried to assign to him. Every single time someone told him what he couldn't do, he used it as fuel, and you need to learn to do the same. Let's talk about the people around you, because some of them need to go. Right now in your life there are people who are comfortable with your weakness. Not because they're evil, but because your smallness makes them feel bigger. When you start to grow, when you start to take up space, when you start to speak with authority and walk with purpose, some of those people are going to push back. They will call it arrogance. They will say you've changed. They will say you think you're better than everyone, and you have to be willing to lose them. This is one of the most painful parts of transformation that nobody prepares you for. Growth is a filter. It shows you who was celebrating the version of you they could control, and who was actually celebrating you. The people who truly love you will rise with you. The people who are only comfortable with you small will reveal themselves the moment you decide to be large. Machiavelli wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." This is the blueprint. Not just power, but intelligent power. Not just force, but wisdom. You need to develop the discernment to recognize who in your life is a wolf disguised as a friend, and you need to develop the spine to cut those connections without guilt, without apology, and without looking back. Now let me talk to you about something called the aura of mystery, because this single principle will change how people treat you more than almost anything else. Most people, when they are trying to get others to like them or respect them, do the opposite of what works. They overshare. They explain themselves constantly. They justify every decision. They need everyone to understand why they did what they did, why they feel what they feel, why they are the way they are. Stop. Right now. Mystery is magnetic. You do not owe anyone an explanation for your choices. The moment you start over-explaining, you are unconsciously telling people, I need your approval before I can feel okay about my own decision. That is the posture of someone who doesn't trust themselves. And if you don't trust yourself, why would anyone else trust you? Robert Greene put it this way: always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please and impress, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, inspire fear and insecurity. But flip this for your own life. Stop displaying your insecurities. Stop showing your hand. Let people wonder about you. Let there be parts of you that remain unlocked, unrevealed, untouched by public consumption. That mystery creates a gravity that desperation never can. There is a concept called frame control, and it is the secret weapon of every powerful, intimidating person you've ever encountered. Your frame is your reality, your set of values, your interpretation of events, your emotional baseline. When two people interact, one of them is operating from within the other's frame. The person with the stronger frame wins, not because they're louder, not because they're meaner, but because their reality is more solid. Here's what that looks like in real life. When someone tries to provoke you, to disrespect you, to diminish you, and you react with anger, hurt, defensiveness, you have just told them their reality is stronger than yours. They threw a stone and it broke through your wall. But when you respond from a place of total calm, when you look at them with steady eyes and a slight smile and say nothing, or say something slow and measured, you are telling them, your behavior doesn't even register as a threat to me. That is power that people can feel in their chest. Winston Churchill said, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. And this is exactly what frame control is about. The courage to hold your reality steady when the world is trying to shatter it. People will try to rewrite your story. People will try to define you by your worst moments, your mistakes, your failures, and you must become immovable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you have decided that nothing will define you except what you decide to build next. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about self-respect, because it is the foundation of everything. You cannot project confidence you don't actually feel in some part of yourself. And self-respect is built through a very simple, brutal mechanism, honoring the promises you make to yourself. Every time you tell yourself, I'm going to wake up early and do the work, and then you don't, you send yourself a message. That message is, you can't trust yourself. And once you stop trusting yourself, your own subconscious starts treating you the way you've been allowing others to treat you. Every small promise you keep to yourself is a brick in the foundation of your self-image. You said you'd go to the gym, go. You said you'd study, study. You said you'd stop reaching out to someone who disrespects you. Stop. Not because these habits will immediately change your life from the outside, but because they will change what you believe is true about yourself from the inside. And that internal shift is the root of everything. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, wrote, "It is not that I'm so brave, it is just that I'm willing to be afraid and keep going." This is what separates the person who transforms from the person who keeps watching transformation videos and never changes. The willingness to keep going. The willingness to be afraid and show up anyway. To feel embarrassed and do it anyway. To feel judged and keep moving anyway. Action is the only thing that converts knowledge into power. I need to talk about something that's going to be uncomfortable. One of the biggest reasons people stay weak and invisible is that they have become addicted to being the victim. And I'm not saying your pain isn't real. I'm not saying the things that happened to you weren't unfair. They were. But there is a difference between being victimized, which happens to you, and being a victim, which is an identity you choose to carry. When your pain becomes your personality. When your trauma becomes your talking point. When your suffering becomes the lens through which you see every single situation. You have given the people and events that hurt you a permanent home inside your head. You have let them become landlords of your mind. And they are collecting rent every single day in the form of your potential, your peace and your power. Machiavelli wrote, "Before all else, be armed." He meant it literally, but take it metaphorically. Before all else, arm your mind, arm your spirit. Stop walking into the world unprotected. Stop letting every opinion penetrate you. Stop being so available to pain. Develop a thickness, not a coldness, but a thickness. A sense that you have seen hard things, and you are still here, still standing, still moving. That is the beginning of intimidation. Not rage, not cruelty. Survivorship with fire behind your eyes. Let's talk about how to walk into a room and own it. This is something people think is reserved for celebrities and CEOs, but it is a learnable skill, and you are going to learn it right now. When you walk into a space, do not immediately look for approval. Do not scan the room to see who is looking at you, who is judging you, who is impressed. That scanning behavior is invisible to no one. It broadcasts insecurity like a neon sign. Instead, walk in with deliberate slowness. Move like you have somewhere to be, but you're not rushing, because the world adjusts to you, not the other way around. Let your eyes move calmly across the room, not darting, not glancing, but observing. Take in the space like you own it. Not like you're looking for validation, but like you're doing a survey of your territory. People will feel that energy before you ever open your mouth. And when you are introduced to someone, or when you speak, do not perform, do not try to impress. Simply be. Ask questions. Listen with your full attention. The most powerful people in the world are often the quietest in the room, because they understand that listening is information gathering, and information is power. When someone is talking at full speed trying to impress you, and you are watching them steadily, nodding slowly, asking precise questions, you become the most powerful person in that exchange without saying almost anything. Let's address something that has been silently holding you back: people-pleasing. People-pleasing is not kindness. I want you to hear that again. People-pleasing is not kindness. It is anxiety dressed up as generosity. It is the act of bending yourself into shapes you were never meant to hold. Not because you genuinely want to serve others, but because you are terrified of what happens if they don't approve of you. Every yes you say when you mean no is a small death of self-respect. Every time you laugh at a joke that offended you, every time you agree with an opinion you secretly reject, every time you make yourself smaller so someone else doesn't feel threatened, you are telling yourself that your authentic self is not acceptable, and you cannot build a powerful identity on a foundation of self-betrayal. Robert Greene wrote, "Make your accomplishments seem effortless." And the deepest reason people-pleasers can never pull this off is because everything they do is visibly desperate, visibly effortful in the wrong way. The effort is pointed at approval rather than at excellence. Flip it. Put all that energy, all that anxiety, all that effort into becoming so genuinely skilled, so genuinely solid, so genuinely grounded in who you are, that approval becomes irrelevant. That is when people start chasing you instead of you chasing them. There is a principle I call strategic silence, and it is the most underused power move available to every human being walking this earth. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, the person who is comfortable with silence becomes magnetic by contrast. When someone insults you and you say nothing, just look at them with steady eyes, you force them to sit inside the weight of what they just said. When someone tries to argue with you and you simply pause, nod and move on, you have communicated clearly that their provocation did not even reach you. Silence communicates power because it communicates control. It says, "I have nothing to prove to you." It says your opinion is noted and irrelevant. Most people in conflict get louder, more defensive, more frantic, because they are operating from fear. But when you respond with silence or with a single calm, well-chosen sentence, you are operating from a different plane entirely. Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, "Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." This is what strategic silence does. It defeats the challenge without meeting it at its level. It rises above it. And when you consistently rise above the noise that others create to throw you off balance, people begin to see you differently. They begin to sense that there is something inside you that cannot be rattled. And that unrattleable core is exactly what makes people think twice before they ever try to disrespect you again. Angry, let me talk about one of the deepest wounds that keeps people invisible. And that is the need to be understood. So many people are walking around in constant low-level pain because they feel misunderstood. They want people to get them. They want to be seen correctly. They keep explaining themselves, keep trying to be perceived accurately, keep hoping that if they just say it the right way one more time, the other person will finally understand. Let it go. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone deserves access to the real you. Some people's understanding of you is not your responsibility. And chasing that understanding is one of the most exhausting, dignity-stripping pursuits a person can engage in. You do not need to be understood by everyone. You need to understand yourself. That is the only understanding that creates power. Machiavelli said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." People are going to form impressions of you based on what they see, your posture, your confidence, your demeanor, your energy. They will not stop to examine your inner world unless you earn that privilege. So stop performing your inner world for people who aren't equipped to receive it, and start performing your outer world so well that the right people feel drawn toward you naturally, inevitably, like gravity. Now I want to give you the most practical transformation tool in this entire video, and it is something you can begin using within the next 24 hours. It is called the identity audit. You are going to take a brutal inventory of the story you are currently telling about yourself. Every single narrative that runs in the background of your mind when you wake up in the morning, when you look in the mirror, when you walk into a social situation. Write them down, every single one. Things like, people don't take me seriously. I always get overlooked. I'm not the kind of person who gets what they want. I'm too sensitive. I talk too much. Or I don't talk enough. Nobody really sees me. Write every single one of them down, because these stories, these invisible narratives are not the truth. They are the program. And you have been running this program for so long that you forgot it was installed by others, by environments, by failures, by people who projected their fears onto you. Now, next to every story, write its opposite. Not as a lie, as a possibility. I attract the respect I deserve. I take up space confidently, and people respond. I am the kind of person who moves toward what they want. I feel deeply, and my depth is a strength. Read these out loud every single morning, not because saying words out loud makes you instantly powerful, but because repetition rewires your brain. Neuroscience confirms it. The stories you tell yourself consistently shape the architecture of your thinking. You are not being delusional. You are being deliberate. Let's talk about how the most intimidating, powerful people handle disrespect, because this is where most people fail. When someone disrespects you, the instinctive responses are fight or flight, blow up or shrink. But powerful people have a third option, precise response, not a reaction, a response. And there is a universe of difference between those two things. A reaction is emotional, immediate and impulsive. It gives the other person control over your state. A response is measured, intentional, and surgically delivered. It puts the control firmly back in your hands. When someone crosses a line with you, you look at them calmly and say something like, "That's not okay with me." 4 words. No explanation, no anger. No lengthy speech about your feelings. Just a clean, clear boundary, delivered with the certainty of someone who knows exactly who they are and exactly what they will and will not accept. Frederick Douglass said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." It never did, and it never will. You must demand your own respect, but demand it with composure, not chaos. The most terrifying people in history were not the ones who screamed the loudest. They were the ones who were completely calm when they should have been rattled. That calm communicates to everyone around them. I have seen worse, I have survived harder, and I am not afraid of you. I want to speak to something deep in you now. Something you've probably never heard said quite this directly. The reason people have been able to ignore you, dismiss you, and walk over you is not because you are weak. It is because you made yourself easy to dismiss. There is a part of you that decided long ago that demanding to be treated well was selfish, that needing respect was arrogant, that wanting to be seen was vain. That lie was given to you by people who benefited from your invisibility. Parents who needed you to be quiet. Teachers who needed you to comply. Friends who needed you to never outshine them. Partners who needed you to need them more than they needed you. And you internalized all of those needs as your own values, as something moral or humble or good about you. But humility is not the same as self-erasure. You can be the most humble person in the room and still demand to be treated with dignity. You can be the gentlest person alive and still have a spine made of iron. Real strength is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is not harsh. Real strength is quiet, consistent, and completely uncompromising, and it is time for you to build it. Angry, let me get into something raw. The relationship between pain and power. Because the greatest transformations I have ever heard of, the greatest stories of people who rose from invisible to undeniable, they all share one thing. They were forged in something that hurt. Loss, rejection, failure, betrayal, abandonment. These things either break you completely or they alchemize into something that can never be taken from you, and the only variable is the story you tell about what happened to you. Every single scar you carry is evidence that you survived something. Think about that. You have a 100% survival rate of your worst days so far. Every moment that knocked you flat, you got up. Maybe slowly, maybe barely, but you got up. And that is not weakness. That is the most terrifying kind of strength there is, the kind that doesn't need applause, the kind that doesn't need witnesses, the kind that just keeps moving in the dark. Nietzsche said, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." But let me give you the version that goes deeper. It is not automatic. Pain doesn't automatically make you stronger. Pain processed, examined, and converted, that makes you stronger. Pain ignored, buried, and avoided makes you a ticking bomb. You have to do the work of sitting with what hurt you, understanding what it taught you, and extracting every ounce of fuel from it. That is the alchemist's work, and you are more than capable of it. Let's talk about how you build lasting presence. Not just surface-level confidence, but that deep tectonic kind of power that people feel when they're around you. It comes from having a mission. It comes from knowing with absolute clarity what you are building with your life. Because when you have a mission, when you wake up every day with a direction, something shifts in your energy. You stop being affected by things that used to derail you. You stop chasing validation because you are too busy building something real. People who have no direction are blown around by every social wind. Every opinion, every rejection, every setback knocks them sideways. But a person with a clear vision and a burning mission moves through resistance like a ship that has found its heading. Other people's opinions become background noise. Social friction becomes a minor inconvenience, because you know where you are going, and you know why it matters, and that knowledge alone creates a quality of presence that other people can physically feel. Machiavelli wrote, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great." This is the mindset of the builder. This is the mindset of someone who doesn't look at obstacles and say, "This is a sign I shouldn't go." They look at obstacles and say, "This is the resistance that separates me from everyone who wasn't serious enough to keep going." Be someone serious enough to keep going. Your mission is waiting for you on the other side of every difficulty you've been avoiding. I want to talk about eye contact, because this is one of the fastest, most immediate ways to shift how people perceive you, and almost nobody talks about it properly. Most people, when they're nervous or insecure, break eye contact first. They look away too quickly, they glance down, they look at anything but the person in front of them. And every time you break eye contact first, you are saying without words, "I am less comfortable with this interaction than you are." Hold it. Not in a creepy, unblinking way, but hold it the way someone holds it who is genuinely interested and completely secure. Soft eyes, not hard. Present, not pressuring. Let the other person look away first. Let the silence between you be theirs to fill. This single habit will change the dynamic of almost every interaction you have. Because eye contact held with calm is one of the oldest signals of dominance and confidence in human communication. And this connects to presence in general, being fully in the room you're in. Stop planning what you're going to say next while someone is talking. Stop rehearsing. Stop managing how you're being perceived every second. Instead, listen, observe, be present. When you are genuinely present, when you are the most awake person in the room, something remarkable happens. You stop performing and start existing. And existence without performance is the most magnetic thing a human being can project. We are getting close to the end of this video, and I want to leave you with the things that will stick with you long after the audio ends. Because information fades, inspiration fades. But transformation, real transformation, happens when something you heard connects with something you already knew was true inside of you and gives you permission to finally act on it. You already knew you were capable of more than this. You already knew that the life you've been living is smaller than the life you were made for. You already sensed on some deep level that you have been giving your power away piece by piece, apology by apology, silence by silence. This video didn't create a new belief in you. It woke something up that was already there waiting. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was born a slave and became one of the most respected thinkers in Rome, wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You were not meant to be mastered by fear, by other people's opinions, by the need for approval, by the memory of every time someone told you that you were not enough. You were meant to be free. And freedom begins the moment you decide fully, completely, without reservation, that you are done being afraid to exist powerfully. Angry, so let me tell you what's going to happen now. You're going to feel this for the next few hours, maybe the next few days. And then life is going to come at you, the same conversations, the same people, the same dynamics, and you are going to be tested. Something is going to try to make you small again. Someone is going to interrupt you or dismiss you or underestimate you. And in that moment you are going to have a choice. You can default back to the old pattern, shrink, apologize, disappear. Or you can remember this moment, right now listening to this, and choose differently. Choose to hold your ground. Choose to speak slowly and with weight. Choose to look them in the eye and refuse to break first. Choose to walk away from anything that requires you to betray yourself to stay in it. Choose every single time the version of you that this video was always about, the one that was never actually gone. Machiavelli said one more thing that I want to leave with you. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. You do not need a title. You do not need permission. You do not need someone to hand you power, because power was never theirs to give. It was always yours to claim. And from this moment forward, claim it. You made it to the end of this video, and that alone tells me something about you. Most people quit halfway through anything hard. You didn't. That's not a small thing. Every step you take from here, every time you choose your power over your fear, every time you hold your frame when the world tries to shake it, you are becoming the version of yourself that the right people are waiting for, the version of yourself you have been waiting for. If this video moved something in you, if it reached something real, then do something real in return. Like this video right now. Leave a comment and tell me the one thing that hit you hardest, because I read every single one of them and your story matters to me. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because somewhere in your life there is a person who is still invisible, still small, still waiting for someone to give them permission to rise. And subscribe to this channel, because what we do here is not motivation content. This is a movement. Every single video I make is designed to change something in you that stays changed. I am just getting started, and I want you here for all of it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next video, because your transformation does not stop here. It starts here.